Okay, this is lesson 11, and I had to cut that last lesson off a little bit short because I got past the 15-minute YouTube deadline. So once you do that, you have to kind of pick a point to cut it back to, and so that's where the last one was. We're going to go back to this point where we were exporting this graph from the output file. So I'm going to export this graph and work with some tables and then show you how to kind of edit this output file, because we're going to be turning in the output file for the last half of this assignment, kind of the analysis section. So let's start by exporting this thing. Let's go export. I'm going to, let me reset this very quickly to show you kind of what comes up. The export function has different options, right? If you're exporting tables, you can export them as plain text or even Word documents or whatever else. But because we're working with graphics, we need to use none, graphics only, which puts us down in this particular menu down here. Because we have kind of hard edges and you know, simple plots, black and white plots, the EPS files tend to work best with that. Windows meta files work, EMF files work really well. And if none of those are available, use PNG files, .png. But use whatever works, right? Bitmap, BMP files work. Sometimes JPEG works. JPEG's unreliable, so I don't use it very often. Browse, we're going to go to the desktop. We're going to call this figure 1. Going to save it as an EPS file, and we're going to click OK and watch this thing run right here. You saw that flash in the center there. I just told you that the processor ran and exported it. And out here I will now have figure1.eps. Notice it always puts a 1 behind whatever else that you have. If I would export this again, it would come out figure 1, 2. So it's kind of confusing, but just the way it works. Let's go to the template. So out on D2L, I've provided you a template for the assignment, and the template's already got a lot of figures and tables in it, but you need to complete them. So we're going to go this route. I'm going to click Open, and it'll pull up this thing. Quick note on manuscripts and images in the Word doc process. One thing, once you begin working with manuscripts, you need to have kind of this this extraneous stuff in here to tell you how to manage the document. And so you can usually find it. It's a black paragraph icon that is located on your on one of these drop-down menus, and all that does is it inserts or makes visible the placeholders, like the section blocks or the section breaks that you'll be putting in. If you want to put a section break in, you just go up here to, usually section break is something like layout maybe, and then you can find break and insert a page break or a section break. I always just use page breaks. One thing I didn't do on this one, while I'm out here, might as well quickly do it. Insert page numbers. You always need to put page numbers in your stuff. So bottom of page, and we're going to put it on the center. And click OK. And so we just put page numbers in. So go ahead and do that while you're starting. I'm going to change the visual on this to 100, or actually visual to one page. Whole page. That's what I want. Notice we have the kind of section headings and subsection headings for the stuff that you're going to do. A reference section where you put in the measures for the measures for the sources, references. And then you've got 4 figures. They all have the same image in them. The image is just a placeholder in this case, but you're going to do each of the independent variables, independent versus the dependent variable. And so we're going to replace those. This is your hypothesis statement. This is the descriptive statistics that you were working with before. This is the regression estimates. It's got some numbers in there, but they're meaningless. They're just to kind of show you how to do it. So let's go up to our first figure where this one is going to go. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to do one other thing here. The image that we had coming out of SPSS had a little bit of a tight margin, so I'm going to put 1 return in there. And then at that point, I'm going to insert photo, picture from file, and I'm going to go find figure 1.1 or figure 1.1. And what that did is that little extra return gives us a little bit of a margin there. Another thing we need to do with the margin is we need to right-click and format the picture and go to the size. Make sure the lock aspect ratio is there, but down click to 6.4. What 6.4 does is it takes it a little bit off of this margin and allows this right border to be printed correctly. So if you do that, we've got a good relationship. Go up there. This one actually is population density, so you don't need to change the title there. And you do need to go in here and insert, the sources of information. The standard of review that we work with for all figures and tables is that a figure or table should be a standalone document. I should be able to give you a figure out of any one of your papers, and I should be able to reasonably replicate what it is. And so you need to explain the sources of data, kind of the sample construct, the dependent variable construction, and independent variable construction, right, where you got it, etc. So that's what you use the notes to do for. So notes are always single-spaced, font size 10. And notice APSA style likes these figures and tables in Arial for whatever reason, because I guess it's a little bit easier. So use Arial or whatever here. These are 12, this is 10. Okay, so that's your first figure. Go in, fix out the replacement, save this somewhere. Make sure you keep saving your iterations as you go, and you'll be fine. One thing I want to do is, before we go to the next stage, is I want to show you a little bit of maintenance on the output file, because you're going to be turning that in. So let me pause for a second, and then I'll start up again. Okay, so one of the things you're going to be asked to do is turn in this output file. But just like anything else, when you're working with output, you always make errors, right? And so I've got several errors in this thing already, and I don't want to turn it in with a bunch of kind of errors and have to feed through that. So one of the important things to do as you're working with data, and it's important because you have to come back to it. You're working on a project, you'll have to come back to it, and you don't want bad tables in there. You want to kind of edit the output as you go. So you remember this first thing that we had kind of 47, 47, and 50 because we didn't get rid of those 3 observations, right? Well, now I don't want that table necessarily in there, so I'm going to open this up a little bit and show you kind of how the output is structured. This particular output is covered by here, right? So if you click on that, it'll give you kind of right click all of those. I want to get rid of it, so I'm just going to go up here to the edit menu, and I'm going to go down to delete, and it should get rid of it. It didn't get rid of everything. It keeps the log part in there, so if you want the log gone too, get rid of that one, delete. Notice here I also have 2 of these tables in here for the descriptive statistics. Here what I did is I ran it once and was doing the video and something went wrong, and I had to come back and run it again when I was doing the second cut at the video. So let's get rid of that one too. Just simply click on this one, it'll go through and pick up everything. Right? Go up to edit, delete, go to the log, and edit and delete that one too. And so here at the end of doing that, I have the get file where I went out and got it. I've got the good. Oh, you know what? I must have made a lot of mistakes because I've got that one there too. So let me get rid of this one. Edit, again, delete. Get rid of the log. Edit, delete. Okay, so at this point we have kind of our different ones. One other thing we could do, so that upper margin thing, I just put an extra return in there, but you could come in here and potentially, let's work with this. There's different ways to do this. You can, it's really tight on this margin. I don't know if I'll be able to pick that up or not, but you can sometimes kind of get up here and fix this margin. Another way that we could have done it is you can go to options and you can insert a title here, and that title will push it down. So you can just get rid of the title, but by doing that you end up adjusting the size. Okay, so let's do this. Once you have that title in there, it gives you a little bit extra space and you can move it up there to where you want it, etc. So just simple ways of we'll close out that graphics editor, and simple ways of maintaining your SPSS output file. Again, once you get done kind of doing stuff and getting rid of the extraneous stuff that doesn't work, make sure you save this. And it's not a bad job, a bad way to save this at iterations either. So maybe what I'll do here to make sure that I've got the right one is I'll just do pols6123 project 1, and instead of figures I'll just say final output. I don't even need the output, I'll just say final and save it. And so this final document is the one that I'm going to maintain as I go through and create the tables and the figures that I need. Okay, good. That'll about complete it here. The next step of the videos is we're going to start running the regressions. It's not very hard. It's as you understand, it's a lot more work actually getting here, getting the data manipulated and everything else. Actually running the regressions isn't very hard. Interpreting the results and running some of the plots on the residuals, that gets a little involved. But if you're up to this point, it's all downhill from here. So that's it. That's reasonably good lesson video. Life is good. Nico Rosberg got knocked out of the F1 race, so Lewis Hamilton's winning. If you don't know who that is, then Google it. We'll keep going.